Will Ipswich Town get promoted to the Premier League? That's the premise of today's video. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Harvey Bell. I'm trying to grow my subscriber count to around 1,500 before Christmas, so if you could subscribe to the channel, that would massively help me out. Also, please tell me in the comments section, do you think Ipswich Town are going to be promoted to the Premier League? Now, to try and make this video, I asked myself a few questions that for me would answer, will Ipswich Town be promoted to the Premier League? Those three questions are: how good are Ipswich Town? How strong is the opposition? And how big of an impact will January have? So let's talk about that very first question. How good are Ipswich Town? And to answer it in short, I think quite. But I take my blue tinted glasses off there because I know that's an incredibly biased and short-sighted answer to give. Let me go into it a little bit more. Of course, we didn't start the season great. We took all the way until September to win a game. We went all of August without winning, and it was a bit doom and gloom for the first 4 or 5 games of the season. There was a bad loss to Preston North End, which at the time looked worse than what it was because nobody sort of foresaw that Preston were actually a really strong team and going to be up there come what the end of the season. Nobody really knew that at the time, and nobody really knew it was going to play out like how it's played out with them. But that was a really frustrating loss at the time. We drew to Derby at Portman Road, which was not a good result. Drew away at newly promoted Birmingham. That was frustrating, but it all sort of lifted as soon as we beat Sheffield United so comfortably at Portman Road. And since then, despite a couple of tricky results against Middlesbrough and Charlton, it's been fairly plain sailing. I mean, you look at the last block of games before the international break, you think we drew with Watford, but we had the comfortable wins against Swansea and QPR. We beat West Brom, who you'd expect to be up there come the end of the season. And things have all started to look a little bit more positive. And things have started to look a little bit more positive because, dare I say, we've clicked. There was so much change in the summer, as we know. We've gone over it a million times. Big players left, new players came in, and it took them a little while to get to speed. But I do genuinely get the impression that things have started to click. And Ipswich Town so far have won games without really getting out of second gear and showing the best of ourselves. I feel like Sindre Valiageli is the prime example of a player that we're going to see so much more of, in the sense that, you know, he's overcoming challenges of moving to a new country. But the second that it clicks, which it started to show is that he's going to be really, really good down that right-hand side. Chuba Akpom is starting to show signs of improvement as well. I think you can pick out so many of the new signings that maybe we were questioning their price tag or why they came to the club in the first place so early on in the season, but now it's starting to show why we signed these players and they're starting to show the best of themselves. I mean, we've got Wrexham at home when we come after the international break, and there's still so long to go in the season. So I'm confident in Ipswich Town's ability, and I know that's biased, and I know you're probably watching this thinking, well, that's just ridiculous. You just sat here and complimented Ipswich Town for so long. And yes, I have, but to answer that first question, how good are Ipswich Town? I do think Ipswich Town are good. I do think that on paper we have the strongest team in the division. And I do think that over the last few weeks we've started to progress and see them represent that we are the best team in the division on paper. And I think it's only going to get stronger over the course of 46 games in the Championship. Now, the second question, how good are the opposition, is where we come to a little bit of a stumbling block, because Coventry City are a very, very good football team. I predicted them to do well in my pre-season predictions. I didn't predict them to do quite as well as they were. I did have them to win the league, in fairness, but I didn't think they'd be as far and away as they are at this stage. I didn't think they'd have scored as many goals as they've scored at this stage. And Frank Lampard has got them playing a certain kind of way that is so far unplayable. Just one loss, which was a bit of an anomaly, a 3-2 defeat to Wrexham, Kiefer Moore hat-trick. But they're scoring goals for the fun of it. Brandon Thomas Asante is the joint top scorer in the division at the time of recording, but they've got goals coming from all over the pitch. I mean, they've got Hadji Wright in the team, and he's not even their top goal scorer. So fair play to Coventry City. They are outperforming any sort of expectation this season, and they're good value for their position in the league. Then you look at Stoke, and it'd be easy for me to sit here and say Stoke City are going to drift away. But I ask you the question, how many times do people say that Ipswich Town were going to drift away last time we were in the Championship and ended up getting promoted to the Premier League? On paper, and everything in my head tells me Stoke City are going to drift away, but they keep grinding the results out. They are up there for a reason. Mark Robins is doing a tremendous job with what isn't the best squad in the Championship by any means, but he's got them up there. They are winning games and they are doing very, very well, and they are not to be sniffed at all. Middlesbrough is obviously an interesting situation at the minute. They had such a good start to the season under Rob Edwards. They've got great players in abundance. Hayden Hackney, of course, Morgan Whittaker, who scored against Ipswich, Finn Azaz. These are players that are capable of getting them promoted from the Championship into the Premier League, but you wonder what's going to happen now. Their next appointment is so crucial after losing Rob Edwards to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and that could go a long way to determining their success for the rest of the season. And then you look at the wider playoff race, teams like Millwall, of course, Bristol City in there too, and these are teams that are doing really, really well. And Preston North End, as I mentioned them at the top of the video, these are teams that are in the playoffs, and it's naive to think as an Ipswich Town fan that just because we picked up a little bit of form that we're all of a sudden going to leapfrog these teams that have had a good start to the season, because ultimately their position in the table reflects how good of a team they've been over the opening 12, 13 games of the season, whatever we are now. So I don't want to come over and say like we're just going to overtake them so easily, but I do think it is a wide open Championship. And I think when you look on the form tables at the minute, and with all due credit to them because they've done well to do it, but teams like Derby County winning 5 games in a row, teams like Blackburn, having previous to losing to Derby, won 4 games in a row, you see the potential for teams to go on a run, and you see that the Championship is as wide open as it's ever been. And I think the fact that Ipswich have had a bad start not only demonstrates that, but it shows that because the Championship is so wide open, it allows the potential for Ipswich Town to go on a run. And I think that we have the means and the firepower in our squad to do exactly that, and probably extend a run longer than other teams could. So I'm quite confident that at some stage we'll go on the run and we can then really try to climb the table. Of course, coming up to Christmas is going to be really, really busy as well. But Christmas is a good point to start talking about January, because I spoke earlier about things clicking, and it's taken a while for things to click, if indeed it has clicked yet, because there's still an argument to say it hasn't. Maybe we haven't seen the best of Ipswich Town yet. Maybe there's more to come from this squad. But in my head, it's certainly clicked a little bit. The team are understanding a little bit more, and it seems like the fans are taking to the players a little bit more. The issue with that is then January comes and that could shake everything up. Of course it could, because we're going to undoubtedly be in the market for players. I don't know who, because you look at our team and there doesn't really seem any obvious areas to improve upon. I know we're leaking silly goals, but to a man, Dara O'Shea, Cedric Kipre and Jacob Greaves are all outstanding centre-backs at this level, just not necessarily performing well as a unit. But I don't really see that we need any midfielders. With Ivan Azon bagging his first goal at Swansea and George Hurst on the score sheet, is there really a need for a new striker? I have no doubt Ipswich Town will be in the market, but I question where. But then I also wonder about, some of our players could potentially be nicked from Premier League clubs. We love Jack Clark and we love Jayden Philogene at the minute. They're scoring goals, they're performing well, but that does attract the eye of clubs in the top division, and you do wonder if maybe these clubs will come knocking. I'm not saying for any second that we are going to lose these players. We're very well protected and have been for a long time, but it does just make you wonder. And I just think that as we're starting to settle and things are starting to calm down after a really, really busy summer, I hope that January is quite calm. I know it's exciting seeing transfer rumours and seeing so-and-so's coming to Ipswich, but I do hope for a calm January, just to almost let things set a little bit more and just try and build on what we've already got, because I think we've already, as I've said in this video, got the best side on paper. And in order to convert having the best side on paper to having the best team in the division requires people to be on the same wavelength, and having a tumultuous January where loads of players come in, loads of players go could really, really sort of make that impossible. So I think January is going to have a very, very big say. Overall, to answer my big question, when I look at how good are Ipswich Town and say they're very good, and I look at how strong is the opposition and I say it's very good, and then I look at January and think how much of an impact could it have, and it could be crucial, but I don't think it will be, because I think it will be quite a quiet one for Ipswich Town. I come to the conclusion that I do think Ipswich Town will be promoted, despite our little bit of a shaky start to the Championship season. I know that it's very biased, I get it, but based on what I've seen from the division so far this season, if you exclude that top six, then I think Ipswich Town will pick up so many points against the bottom half of the Championship and the mid-table. And feel free to pick this video out, come what may, if we haven't gone up, and tell me what an idiot I am. But right now, I do think, and I'm quite confident, that Ipswich Town will be promoted to the Premier League. I would love to hear what you think. Maybe bring me down from Mars, maybe bring me back to reality. But that's my honest thoughts at the minute. And as ever, I'd really like to hear yours. But other than that, all it is left to say, thank you very much for watching, and keep on keeping on.